Welcome everyone to installment number 10 of Medicine Basics. Last time I talked about the importance of evolution in understanding health and disease, and I also showed some concepts that apply to medicine. Today I want to discuss life. So you see here the subtitle is Human Biolayers. Bio comes from bios, which is life in Greek. Specifically, I want to talk about the human biolayers, so the layers of human life. Now, the concept itself of biolayers is established. The layers are established, not too difficult, but they are very important for everyone trying to understand health and disease. The terminology human biolayers is new. Now, on the left side, the topics I am covering today, as always. So let's start. What are human biolayers? As just mentioned, human biolayers are the different layers of human life. Now, I think we all agree we have one health, we have one life, at least one life at a time. The layers I am talking about are all aspects of the same thing. So they are all aspects of the same life, the same one health. These are not separate entities. These are all descriptors of the same thing. So human life is physics, it's genome, it's biochemistry, it's phenotype. These are all different units that can be used to describe the same dimension, health. Now we can compare life to the heat of a summer day. So we can define heat, for example, in centigrades. We can define it in Fahrenheit. We can measure it by how we feel. We can measure it, or we can define it by how many seconds it takes to melt an ice cube. These are aspects that measure the same thing, heat. Now it's important to understand that since these aspects of health, let's say, these are all aspects of the same health, and therefore they will correlate with the homeostasis level. So this is something very important. All four aspects will correlate with the homeostasis level. Some layers are better measurable compared to others, and we have therapeutic approaches to target all of these layers. And again, here I'm showing the painting of Picasso in his Cubism period, the same I showed in the first lesson, where he's trying to depict reality from all its sides, because I think it's relevant in this lesson as well. So again, to clarify, these are not four dimensions. They are measurement units of the same dimension, our life, our health. Same as with the example from before, it will be like measuring water with different units. You also can see it in the illustration. You can choose the layer you want on the x-axis at any point, at any time, and the graph wouldn't change. So now let's discuss these layers. I will start with physics. Now, the layer of physics, I can also call this layer the energy layer. I chose physics because I don't want you to associate it with the woo non-scientific concepts. Now, how is life energy? What do I mean? It's so because technically in science, every piece of matter is energy, first of all. So matter and energy are interchangeable. So Einstein's most famous equation, E equals mc squared, is just that. So energy is equal mass times the speed of light squared. It just says that energy and matter are interchangeable. This is also why Physics is the fundamental science. It lies on top of chemistry. Chemistry lies on top of biology. So there's kind of a hierarchy in the sciences. Now, what we also know is that every dynamic at its core is a result of an interaction of forces. So let's say if the water is still inside this bottle or the tea, it's because there are forces acting on the water, resulting in calm water. But if I add some energy, if I shake it, I will add a force and the water will move. So we can also think of chemical reactions, so biochemical reactions in our body as a reaction between, you can think of them traditionally like a reaction of between chemicals, so matter, but matter is made out of energy. So it's an interaction between matter, but we can also say it's an interaction between energies. So again, everything in us is energy. So microbes, biochemistry, phenotype, everything is energy. Another point in modern medicine, imaging uses this layer to create images. So I'm adding here 3 images. So from left to right, X-ray, MRI, and ultrasound. These all rely on this energy layer. Now I'd like to list a few therapeutic approaches that target this layer directly or more directly than others. So all these approaches do have their efficacy proven in scientific literature beyond placebo effect. This is something that is at the core of what I say. We have science-based medicine. So we have here a few examples. So light and sound therapies can be used. So infrared here, so infrared saunas, for example, there are UV lamps, there are sound waves. Then we can also use, block potentially toxic light. So we can use special lamps or special screens, special sunglasses. Then there is cold and heat therapies. We have from the classic Finnish sauna to ice baths to cold showers. Then there is electrostimulation, where we applied an electrical current. There is grounding, which is a practice. It just means to making sure the body is earth. There is a connection to the earth, just like we do with most electric appliances. Then there is magnetism. We can use so magnets or PEMF. Then there's traditional Chinese medicine. There's tapping. There's movement. Of course, movement is a form of kinetic energy. Then there's thoughts and feelings, which I think we can say are another source of energy. Then there's isolation tanks, which are a simulation of absence of forces, so absence of light, of sound, of gravity, feeling. So genome is the second layer. Genome is the sum of our DNA and our microbial DNA, let's say. So it's the sum of our DNA and the microbial DNA. There's not much we can do today to edit our own genome. We can influence its expression. We can't really change the genome itself, at least not in a clinical setting, which means cannot make it available to the patients. Then what we care much more about is the genome of the other life inside of us, so the microbes inside of us. These microbes are present mainly on the surfaces in contact with the environment, so mainly the skin. We have skin microbiota, we have eyes, we have ear, we have ear canals, we have sinus, we have gastrointestinal tract, we have lungs, we have the vagina. Then we know today that 70 to 90% of our immune system is in our intestinal lining, and that this is taken care of mainly by the microbes that live there. That is something that we know for sure. Now, why do we know that this is a layer of life? Why do I say that genome is a layer of life? We know it because we learned the importance of this symbiosis with microbes from evolutionary biology. But we also have learned something very important recently. We discovered that we observe an alteration of intestinal microbiota population in all types of chronic diseases. And we also observe a dysbiosis, which means a deviation from normal healthy microbial population in low wellness states. So in cases of physical training, strenuous physical training during menstruation, during pregnancy, during psychological stress, these are all linked to states of dysbiosis. Then on the bottom here, I've added two illustrations. The man on the left is Hippocrates. He was a Greek physicist around 500 years before Christ. He is considered the father of modern medicine. He famously insisted that all disease start in the gut. We have dismissed this statement for 2,500 years now, but science is now delivering more and more evidence with every day that goes by that supports this statement. Then the second is a symbolic illustration of the human body. I drew this. It's to remind us that the gastrointestinal tract is in fact a surface area with the external environment. We can think of it like a tube going through us from our mouth to our anus. Down this tube we throw all kinds of things, the food we eat, the drinks we drink, and so it's obvious that this is actually the most exposed surface of our body. Now, regarding therapeutic intervention on this layer, we do not have, unfortunately, anything clinically available to address the human genome. When it comes to the microbiome, here I'm referring in particular to the gastrointestinal microbiota. We have several approaches at our disposal. Today we have of course diet that shapes our microbiota. We have antimicrobials. We have probiotics, prebiotics, symbiotics. We have prokinetics. We have supplementation to support digestive processes. We have different types of enemas or colonic irrigations. We also have surgery, where, for example, parts of entire digestive organs are removed. Next, we have the biochemistry layer. I think, first of all, I have to explain what metabolism is in this context. So metabolism is the sum of all chemical reactions happening in our body. So this is metabolism. It's the sum of all reactions. And biochemistry is it's a way to measure our metabolism, so to measure these reactions by looking at molecules, usually in bodily fluids. This is biochemistry. Now, this is the science that occupies the king's seat in modern medicine. This is because it is the layer drug development is based on, drugs are based on. And yes, we can say biochemistry is proving itself practical when we need to identify disease processes and also to monitor homeostasis level and specific disease markers. Then a quick word about chemical reactions. What is a chemical reaction? Here I'm adding an example. You see CO2 plus H2O gives H2CO3. So this is an example of a reaction. CO2 is carbon dioxide, H2O is water. And then there is an enzyme, which is a protein, which is carbonic anhydrase. So it catalyzes this reaction to yield carbonic acid. Now, what we know about chemical reactions is that they depend on how much reactant there are, and also how much product and the enzyme and the energy we give to start the reaction. So at the end, it's matter, energy, and enzymes. So this is something that we need to keep in mind also, because it helps us understand the relationship between the other layers and this layer, or how they tie, or how they are the same thing. Now, what approaches do we have that target this layer directly? We have, of course, a huge bullet point, which is supplementation. With supplementation, I mean taking any product, can be natural or extra natural, in any form and administered in any way. So this can be something we ingest, something that we inject, something that we absorb through skin. It can be any form of supplementation. It can be natural, of natural origin. It can be extra natural. So these are, in practical terms, these are drugs and natural supplements and some other therapies that available. Then we have surgery, and as we saw with the placebo effect, we can say thoughts and feelings also influence the biochemistry. Then phenotype is the last layer that I'd like to describe. Phenotype is a scientific word for an aspect that we can observe, something that we can see. So it is the subjectively noticeable layer of life. So everything we do, we think, we feel is actually phenotype. So everything we are conscious about is phenotype. So a feeling or a color are both phenotypes. They are also energy, they are genetic expression, and they are biochemistry. We can also call this layer the conscious brain layer. Now, this is a more abstract layer, a little bit like the physics layer. Nonetheless, there are therapeutic approaches that we can use for this layer directly. We have meditation, we have religious practices, we have counseling, we have surgery, we have thoughts and feeling again. As you can see, several approaches come up in different layers. This is self-explanatory and natural if you think that these layers are all aspects of the same thing, our health. So it's difficult to attribute them to determine which layer is affected more directly. Now I wanted to do a pit stop and remind myself what I am after. I am after a science-based and practical medicine. Now, how practical is this concept of human biolayers? Really, I think we can say it's not practical at all. It's clinically irrelevant if we are talking in terms of energy, or in terms of genomics, of biochemistry, or phenotype. It is all the same thing. It's all the one health. It's all one health. So the reason I'm talking about these is because understanding that these aspects exist that they are actually aspects of the same One Health is crucial to becoming an unbiased and science-based practitioner. So different therapies I have listed here approach different layers with different degree, but all have proven efficacy in scientific literature. So this is what counts. So what I want is I want you to become familiar with the reality of life, with the reality of our biology. Now, one dimension, one medicine actually, and one practitioner. So today, in today's medicine, 2017, different practitioners work on the same One Health with different approaches. As a consequence of this, the practitioner puts his or her approach at the center of practice instead of putting the patient's life or the patient's health. Now, in one medicine, all approaches make sense. We prioritize the approaches that make most sense. So we'll see in future what this means. But we want to put the patient at the center of our practice, not the one specific approach that was taught to us. This is what I think we can say is the most effective approach. So this was today's content already, a bit shorter lesson, just one concept, but an important one. I hope you now have a better feel for what health is, even better feel, and the different ways we can look at life in medicine, and that there is more to biochemistry when it comes to especially therapeutic approaches. And so, yes, I hope to see you in the next lesson. Thank you for your attention.